you've got to support tape. It's the software of this format, and without new tape, your format is going to die pretty quickly. Because if you're going to be recording material, I would strongly advise that you don't go and buy used tape off various auction sites, because how do you know what the provenance of it is? You're committing your great creative ideas to tape, and then you find it's got a dropout in the middle of it. So advert for RTM, buy new tape. So your application, what are you going to do with these machines? Are you going to use them as a creative tool? We heard Miko talking about tape loops, and instead he mentioned about editing and those sort of areas that it branches off into. Are you going to use it to print down your final mixes, or are you going to use it as a pass-through? And indeed, with your multi-track machine, are you going to use it as a pass-through machine to Pro Tools, or are you going to actually create a mixed master on that 1-inch, 2-inch tape? So you've got to think about all those applications before you jump in, because there's no getting away from it. Second per second, inch for inch, it is the most expensive audio recording format devised. Down front here, got two machines which I noticed. Got the Akai GX4000 and the good old Revox B77. If you're planning on doing tape loops, Miko was talking about dumb machines, and you want 2-track. Your B77 is quite a nice machine. Get yourself a Mark II, because it's got the various speed on it. And also I suggest get yourself what they call the HS, the high speed version, 7.5, 15 imps. You can fool that machine into going into play or record and creating your own loop. If you want to get handy with your soldering iron, you can even whip the wires off the back of the erase head and just get it into record, and it'll carry on recording. Because remember, when the audio is recorded by the record head, it doesn't wipe it off, that's the erase head's job. So in other words, as the loop goes round, it will add more material and you'll get almost a live tape loop as it goes. Or you can record your loop, edit it up, put it on the machine, and just press play and see what result you get. And again, using your mic stand or your broom handle to extend the loop out however far you need. This machine has also got the advantage that it takes 10.5-inch reels, so we've got old reel size here, which is your professional format in the recording studio. But all that kind of stuff costs money. There's no getting away from it. So you might want to dip your toe in the water and get yourself a little Akai GX4000. They're about the absolute minimum of consumer machine that I would recommend. That indeed they're the ones I work on. I won't touch anything else, but lower than that. The little GX4000, Akai made loads of them, the Mark I, the Mark II, and all the DS and ones with Dolby and all this kind of thing. Only takes 7.5-inch reels, will only run at 7.5 inches per second. But you could probably pick one of those up, even a pristine one, cosmetically great, electronically and mechanically brilliant, for about 300 quid. Half that price if you're prepared to have a few corners knocked off of it. If you're going to move up into your 1/4-inch machines, then you're looking at your Studas, your Ataris. This machine is an A810. In its current state, that machine will probably set you back about £6,500–7,000 if it was ready to go. They are reputed to be one of the most complicated, electronically complicated machines of the era. It came out in 1988, which is the other thing you've got to remember. In the professional sector, there are no new tape machines being made, haven't been made since about 1992. I think Atari were the last company to make tape machines. There are new consumer machines being made, but I really would steer clear of those for the professional format. And apart from anything else, those prices start at around about £20,000. But this machine, a lot of gubbins going on in here. They are like thoroughbred racehorses. When they run, they really run well. When they've got a few glitches, you sometimes have these machines, you're like knocking one fault of a door down and there's another door in the way, and you just have to keep knocking them down, the faults on these machines, until it comes good. A bit further down the line, there's the Studer A807, which is basically a later machine than this, despite the fact it had a smaller number, A810, A807, and they save money on the mechanics. It's got the rollers and the tension arm over here are missing. Mechanics cost money, Studer could save money. You might also want to consider American machines. The machine I know very well is the MCIs, or the Sony MCI. Sony bought MCI at nearly the end of their life, so they got called Sony MCIs. And then there's the JH110. The 110 is quite nice because this particular machine would take 10.5-inch reels, I asked today, there's no plans from RTM to make 14-inch reels. They were ginormous reels that went on the machine, which gave you an hour's recording time at 15 IPS, because 15 IPS, that will only give you half an hour recording time. But the 110 could. It could take 14-inch reels. And some of the other later Studas, if you've got very deep pockets, such as the A820, the A812, if I remember as well, all the later 1980s machines, and of course the famed A80 from the 70s, would take those larger 14-inch reels. But I can't stress, you're starting to get into quite an outlay, both to buy these machines, also what condition you're buying them in, and they will definitely, at some stage, need some work done on them. Because they're like a classical piano. You get this thing tuned up, it's all wonderful for you, sir, madam. Take it away to your studio. You stick it in the back of your van, you stick it in the back of your truck, bump it along the road, get it up the stairs. You can guarantee it's going to need some work. And bumping a great big machine like your multi-tracks up the stairs is no mean feat. Of those, we had this morning, Miles talking about 16-track machines. You've got a nice entry level, I would say, at the professional level, something like the Tascam MS16. I saw one of those on an auction site recently, and that went for £600, quite amazingly. But when we looked at it, it's certainly been around the park, so we had to, whoever works on it has got their work cut out to get it up to a certain level. The other thing about the professional sector is they don't tend to care what the external conditions are like. And this wonderfully sprayed machine here, it doesn't matter if it's got a few corners knocked off of it, which means you can save money. If you're going into the consumer sector, some of these audiophiles, the audiophile brigade, they love the pristine bits, they love the big VU meters, they love all of that kind of stuff. You want the machines to handle the tape well, you want the machines to sound good, you want the machines to do what you want in the creative process. So if it's got the odd scratch on the front, who cares? Going back to our multi-tracks, you've got your Tascam MS16, comes in a nice trolley about the size of this A810, but it's got all the audio amps down the bottom, all your VU meters, so you can see what the machine is up to in terms of recording and replay. We can then look at the MCIs. There's the MCI 16 or JH16, or they changed it to the 24. And then if you really want to get up into stratosphere, you're into the A800s, which I believe Strongroom has got a couple of A800s across the way there. A machine from the 1970s, and then that was later replaced by the A820 in the 1980s. I personally love the A820 as a machine. They did it in quarter-inch and multi-track, or MCH as Stu would call them, format. Some people argue they're a bit clinical. They're a bit Swiss. You know, they're a bit beautifully engineered, and that's what they sound. And we've been talking about the creative process here in terms of tape machines sometimes adding those attributes that maybe digital formats or even plugins don't give you. And some people argue that the later Studas, the 10s, the 12s, the 27s, the 20s are a little bit clinical. I do like the MCI JH machines though. They achieve a lot with very little. If you look at a Studer inside there, beautiful, it's like a Swiss watch. Beautiful engineering, and clearly the Swiss Germans have spent a lot of time working out the infinite tolerances on these machines, and it works beautifully. You look at an MCI, you lift the cover up, it looks like it's been built in a shed. The buttons, you can tell, have been bought off RS. There's bits like, well, we need this arm to come in. I know, we'll screw that in. That's done it. Now we need the roller to come in. Oh, another bit of bent metal. Let's just bend it out. But don't hold that back against the MCIs. They are very nice sounding machines. They're very easy to set up to do. Does anybody know about the NAB IEC hack? We're getting into sort of EQs and tape types and formulations here. But there's the NAB equalisation and there's the IEC equalisation. I won't go into that too much, but basically the NAB, it bungs about 2 dBs, 3 dBs of bass in the recording process. So there's a hack that was told to me by a guy who runs a studio. He records in NAB, but he replays in IEC, because IEC doesn't take that bass off, so you get an extra 2-3 at the bottom, dBs of grunt at the bottom end. And he said he loves the MCI for that. Very easy to set up, easy push buttons on the cards, NAB, IEC, just press the NAB on the records, the IEC ones, buttons on the replay cards, and your machine's set up to do that. So you've got your Studers at really high end, you've got your American machines, I'd say at the medium end, and sitting in between them like a cradle, that's medium high end, is your Japanese machines. So you've got your Ataris, that's been mentioned. I think we heard earlier about the fact that you couldn't get the MTR90 to do a tape loop. That's because the MTR90 doesn't have what's called a pinch roller in it. There's a capstan that goes round, and there's a pinch roller that comes in and squashes the tape between the capstan, drives the tape at the right speed. The MTR90 doesn't have one of those. It does all sorts of funny things and knows how fast the rollers are going for the tape and that kind of thing, which is why you can't fool it into putting a tape loop on or get the tensions. You have to, because the thing says, don't like this, don't like the tensions, and it shuts down. But you've got some very nice Japanese machines like that, the Atari machines, and don't discount some of the Tascams. I've mentioned the MS16, but some of the lower end, still well built, good build quality, if you want to dip your toe into the water of multi-track. 8-track machines are quite cheap to buy. There's things such as the Tascam TSR8, uses half-inch tape if I recall, and that's quite a nice machine. You can buy them quite cheaply, but don't expect, if you want to sell it, to get the same amount of money. They are not as popular as the 16s and the 24s. You might want to step up and go to the 1-inch MSR 24 from Tascam. That is a machine that's about the size of an A8 10, but it manages to pack 24 tracks of audio into a 1/8-inch tape. It uses DBX noise reduction to help it get that quality, and noise reduction is a completely different subject, and it's something I'd say beware how you use it. But it's quite great, good machine, good entry level into true 24-track recording. But the downside is, you think, well, why doesn't everybody go to these machines if they're so cheap? Why are we spending a lot of money on our A800s or A820s or MTR90s? They are 2-head machines. Tape machine has 3 heads. Tape runs across the heads. It meets the erase head, which wipes things off. It meets the record head, which sticks the audio on, and it meets the replay head. There's a thing like a timecode head you might find later on, but we're not talking about that. But broadly 3 heads. The way that Tascam bring the price down on those, or brought the price down to make it entry level, was they had an erase head, and then they had a combi record and replay head, which means you can't do off-tape monitoring, so you can't hear as it's recording what the replay is instantly, and that could be terrible if you have a tape drop out or the machine channels dropped out. You can't also do tape loops on the fly, because you've got to record it, make it into a loop, and then replay it. You can't do simultaneous record and replay. It does mean that they're very simple. They're a simpler machine, far simpler machines than the 3-head machines, which have rows and rows of amplifiers to do all of the different functions. But the downside is you're losing functionality. And the other thing is, and I've no wish to knock it if anybody has got any past association or owns one, but Tascam's main rival in the 1980s was Fostex. And they produce some nice machines, the E16, the G16, the G24, and they also made the G24S, and the S stood for Dolby S. My strong advice to you is, if you have one or you've been offered one, buy beware. What you've got to realise is that these machines are all date from about the 1970s and 1980s. They're heading on to be 50, 60 years old. They were probably designed to be in landfill by 1995, 1996. I can tell you, I'm ex-BBC. When the BBC threw their machines away in 2000, there were at least 100 of these babies and their associated ones in the basement of Broadcasting House, which when they blew the old foundations up to put the new building in, that lot was still in there. They all just went into the crusher. And that's your problem. Looking at longevity of all these machines, the Fostexes, they were effectively the project studio market of that time. They were built for a price, lots of plastic parts, lots of press steel parts, did a lot for the price, 16-track, 8, 16, 24-track machines you could get, but they also made a lot of compromises. And if you're just singling out the GS24 with a Dolby chip on it, one audio card did record, replay, bias, and all the noise reduction, and it's a great multi-legged beast that sits on the card. When that goes fut, you've lost your channel entirely, and you will not be able to buy another card for the very reason that all the other cards you're getting have gone fut as well. So you've got to be careful. You might think you're getting a bargain, but what are you actually getting underneath the hood? So really, I'd say if you are going to dip your toe into this format or expand your tape offerings. Try to look beyond the glitzy lights, all the flashing stuff and all what it can do, and look at your application. What are you going to do with this machine and how much is it going to cost you to run? Because there's no getting away from it. Tape aside, a reel of 2-inch like that's going to cost you 230 some odd quid. You've got that to consider. The 15 IPs will only last you half an hour. But what is it going to cost you to run in maintenance? If the heads are a bit worn, how much are they going to cost to get them relapped or, heaven forbid, even replaced? You've got a channel. You can always guarantee on a 24-track multi-track machine, there's always one channel that's running a bit low or a bit high or a bit duller than the rest. There's always something that you have got to put some effort into, and that effort both in time and money, to correct those issues. So it's a great format. I don't want to, heck, I'm not going to turn people away from it and make a living from it. It's a great format, but you've got to realise what you're getting involved in.